Hey, have you ever met someone who just drifts? No plans, no ambitions, no direction. Maybe that person is someone you know. Maybe that person is you. And here is the thing, it's not laziness, it's not a lack of intelligence. There's actually a deep biological reason behind it. Today, we're going to look inside the brain to see what is really happening when someone has no goals, and why just trying harder isn't the answer. We're going to unpack the architecture of aimlessness. First, let's be clear. Not having goals doesn't mean someone is not doing anything. Most people in this state are actually quite busy. They're working, eating, or socializing, but they are living on autopilot. Psychologists call this aimlessness, but in the world of neuroscience, it's often a sign that your default mode network is stuck in the on position. This is the circuit responsible for wandering, worrying, and overthinking. It's what happens when the brain has no external anchor. Without a goal to focus on, your mind literally starts to burn its energy on nothing but internal noise. As Viktor Frankl famously observed, our primary human need isn't pleasure, it's meaning. When a goal is missing, that meaning disappears, and the brain enters a state of high-stress static. Why does this happen? Usually, it's one of 4 psychological traps that keep the system locked. The first is the fear of failure. This is a survival mechanism. If you never aim for anything, you can never miss. Your brain chooses safety over growth. But over time, that safety starts to feel like a cage. You're not avoiding a goal, you're avoiding the pain of a potential loss. Then there's learned helplessness. This is a concept discovered by Martin Seligman. If you've been knocked down too many times, or if your environment was one where your efforts never seemed to matter, your brain eventually learns that effort is useless. It shuts down the engine to save fuel. It's not a choice, it's a conditioned response that requires a total system reboot. Third is a lack of identity. Goals come from knowing who you are and what you value. If you've spent your life meeting other people's expectations, your parents, your boss, or your social circle, your own internal GPS never got calibrated. You don't know where to go because you don't know who's driving. And finally, we have to talk about mental health and neurodiversity. Things like ADHD, anxiety, or depression act like static in your circuits. When the brain's signaling is noisy, it's hard to plan for next year when you're struggling just to process the next 10 minutes. Your executive function is simply overwhelmed. So, what does science say about a brain with no target? Inside your brain, you have a filter called the R.A.S, the Reticular Activating System. Think of it as your internal search engine. Every second, millions of bits of data hit your senses. Your R.A.S decides what you actually notice. When you have a goal, your R.A.S highlights opportunities, people, and ideas that help you get there. It's like when you buy a certain car and suddenly you see that car everywhere. Without goals, the filter breaks. Everything becomes equally loud and equally distracting. You lose the ability to focus on what matters because nothing matters more than anything else. Even worse, you lose your dopamine ramp. Most people think dopamine is what you feel when you win. But neuroscience shows that dopamine is actually about the pursuit. It is the chemical of more. Every small step you take toward a goal gives you a hit of energy and motivation. Without a goal, your dopamine levels drop to a baseline crawl. You feel hollow, unmotivated, and physically heavy. You aren't lazy, you are just chemically unplugged from your own reward system. When you live without a target, you stop directing your life and start reacting to it. You become a passenger in your own story. You let others make your decisions. You feel a strange, stinging envy toward people who seem driven, even if you don't want what they have. You just want their spark. To fill this void, many people turn to cheap dopamine. This is the endless scrolling, the binge-watching, and the digital junk food. It is a survival mechanism. Your brain is starving for a reward signal, so it takes the easiest, fastest path available. But cheap dopamine doesn't build anything. It just keeps you distracted while the world moves past you. The toughest truth is this: the world has momentum. If you stay still for too long, the gap between where you are and where you could be starts to feel impossible to bridge. The static becomes your identity, but it doesn't have to be that way. If this sounds like you, listen closely. You are not broken. You're just uncalibrated. Your brain is a goal-seeking machine, and it is currently running without software. To restart the system, you have to follow a specific protocol. First, follow curiosity, not ambition. Don't worry about 5-year plans or life purposes yet. That is too much pressure for a stalled engine. Instead, ask, what am I curious about right now? Curiosity is a low-pressure signal. It is the spark that restarts the dopamine ramp. If a topic makes you forget to check your phone, that is a data point. Follow it. Second, you must implement the 1% rule. Set goals so small they feel ridiculous. If you can't clean your room, pick up one sock. If you can't go to the gym, stand outside in your running shoes for 2 minutes. Your brain needs to practice the win before it can handle the marathon. You are retraining your nervous system to believe that your intentions can actually become realities. Third, you have to clear the line. If fear or trauma is what is keeping you stuck, no productivity hack or morning routine will save you. You have to address the hardware. This means honest conversations, journaling, or professional support to figure out why the safety of aimlessness felt necessary in the first place. Finally, borrow momentum. Sometimes you can't see your own path because you're too close to the fog. In those times, walk with someone else, help a friend with their project, join a volunteer group, support a cause you respect. Direction often comes from the outside before it grows from within. People without goals aren't failures. They're often just people who were never taught how to want things for themselves. People whose reward systems have been dampened by life, fear, or biology. But your brain is plastic. It's designed to change, adapt, and seek. Think about this tonight. If you had a 100% guarantee that you could not fail, what is the first thing you would start tomorrow morning? Don't think about the money or the fame. Think about the action. Sit with that feeling. That slight rise in your chest, that's your dopamine system waking up. If this analysis helped you understand the biology of your own stuckness, subscribe. We don't do empty motivation here. We look at the systems that actually move the needle. Drop a comment below. What is one tiny, almost invisible goal you are going to achieve in the next 24 hours? The world is moving. It is time to find your trajectory. I'll see you in the next one.